Well, welcome to Martini Time. I've given up my olives and and going back to a lemon twist, like my uncle always said was the perfect martini. Gin, lemon twist, just a little bit of vermouth. And so he was a purist. He went back to the original recipe. Just like in religion, we want to go back to the original recipe, because over time people add stuff and they want variety, and they go to vodka and they put olives in it, and now you got martini bars where it's like yogurt. You can get all kinds of martinis. You see, it's all been watered down. So what's the pure religion? The pure religion is lemon twist, gin, a little bit of vermouth. So I wanted to talk about the Zen of the 700 Club, Pat Robertson. There was a nice article on the internet this morning that I read and wrote about, which was how Pat Robertson laid the groundwork for Trump and our current situation. So we need to understand context. We need to put on a wide-angle lens that sees time in a wide swath instead of narrowly focusing on just today, you see. So the wide-angle lens goes, I go back to 1960. I was in Norfolk. I'd gotten out of the Navy, and I was going to Old Dominion, and my wife was teaching there, and she says, and I think we did, I don't remember, but she said we used to go down to the Freemason Street Baptist Church in Norfolk. And Pat Robertson was the youth minister there. And then, I never met him. And in 1977, he created the Christian Broadcasting Network because cable was coming in and TV evangelists were coming in. This was in the 70s. And something was happening. The 60s had washed out, but the energy of the 60s was now rolling through American history. This wave of me, this wave of the need to have experience, the need to have the center in me, you see. In the 50s, the center was in the objective, in the order of society. So everybody conformed to society. If society went to war, country went to war, you went to war. You didn't question it. Whatever the social order dictated to you, whatever customs whatever you wore, everybody wore a hat, everybody dressed the same, everybody consumed. The pleasure in life was through consuming the next new car, the next new appliance, you see. Science was now producing the goods. America was a cornucopia of new stuff, you see. And so this congregation of the 50s was a consumer congregation. And then in the 60s, there was a shift. Instead of just blindly obeying the dictates of society, something awoke that said, what about me? I'm unique. What about me? I'm number one. I don't have to go to this damn war. I got my rights. So me awoke in the 50s, 60s, and in the 70s, TV awoke. It broke out of the three churches, ABC, NBC, CBS. These were the Trinity, right? Three. I'm counting. Three. That was the Trinity. If it wasn't on ABC, NBC, CBS, it wasn't on. And these were pretty much dictated by the networks and advertising. So it was it was like three Orthodox churches, just like you had Presbyterians, Episcopalian, and Methodist. And there wasn't a whole lot of difference. You see, they were pretty much the Orthodox churches. And so the networks were the Orthodox churches. And you had minor differences, minor flavors, but basically they were the same. So then when TV broke into cable and it began to create individual networks like the Christian Broadcasting Network, or News, which Pat Robertson created in the 70s, 1977, there was something different in the air. You had, if you recall, I do, the great boom of televangelism with Jim Bakker and Jimmy Swaggart, and a lot of these charismatic preachers, charisma, who could now preach a sermon that would reach millions instead of just a little church down by the river. That little church down by the river was a universal church, and it delivered not theology, it delivered emotion, it delivered feeling. That's what a charismatic preacher or leader does. They're able to transmit feeling. So you identify with them. You're me, and the me of the preacher are one me. You see? It connects the distance between the consumer and what he's consuming, or the speaker and the listener, or the observer and the observed become one, you see. So there is a communion there through the charisma of the speaker that transcends the exile from the garden, that transcends the feeling of being alone and lost and just a cog on the wheel, you see. Just something on the fender that gets all the mud. You see it. There's a connection that happens in this kind of a communion. So this was an electronic communion, a mass, so to speak, a Eucharist. And all you had to do in order to get this Eucharist, in order to get this communion, was tune in, you see. And if you wanted to invest in it and get the promised return, which would be God's grace, or God's help in your world, you needed to align with the God, this electronic God. You need to get in alignment with the charismatic speaker or minister. And you would get in alignment with it by tithing, and you would send in a little money, and you would belong to the 700 Club. And it was, Robertson was a genius in marketing. I mean, he created the different levels of belonging. So you had the peasants down here at the bottom who just gave a little bit, and you had the elite up here at the top who gave a lot. And the idea was the more you gave, the more grace you would get back. And if you believe that, well then, whatever good things happened, you'd say, thanks Jesus, I got to send more money. So it became a money cow. And I remember going, back when my brother and sister-in-law got hooked into this, they became evangelicals, and they were beautiful people, and their heart was very much in it, but they did it full haul, and I've talked about this before. But they became a hub of information in this vast growing network of Christian news. Christian news. Who ever heard of that before? What was Christian news? Why would Christians want to get involved in news of the world? Christianity was being separate from the world, was taking you out of the world into a higher dimension, connecting you with the transcendent God. It was never interested in news and politics and changing history. That's what got Jesus in trouble. They wanted him to change history and become a political leader. And he said, no, my home is with the Father. So there's a shift here, you see, that's going on. And now suddenly Christian news becomes equal to secular news. So it's kind of like creationism becomes equal to evolution. You see, so Christian news now becomes a valid political, and it becomes political viewpoint. And so back in the 70s, after Nixon, the Republican Party brought in the Southern Baptist Christian news and married it Republican and Christian news. So it kind of morphed into Fox. So now Fox is a evolutionary extension of the 700 Club. Only they don't say we're a religious club, we're a secular club, but we deliver Christian news. We deliver news with feeling. We deliver news with meaning for you. We deliver news that orientates you into a positive position in the world. As Christians, you are righteous. You see, as Christians, you have the correct view. And as Christians, you have God on your side. So this is a orientation for the disenfranchised, for the lost children of the garden, for those in exile wandering around in the modern world with nothing to give them any purpose or meaning. You just go to work, buy new stuff, and die. There's no meaning in that. So this whole is a quest for meaning in the modern world, in the scientific rational world, which can tell you how to do things, but it can't tell you why. It can't tell you the purpose in it. You see, so it will tell you, it will fix things, but it can't tell you, it won't give you any meaning. And meaning is the most important thing. If you have meaning, you can endure any hardship. If you have meaning, you can endure any loss, any grievance if you have meaning. So it's the meaning that's so important, and it's these networks, along with Fox, that provide meaning. It gives you an orientation, and it gives you a feeling of belonging to something greater than you. That's where meaning comes from, when you belong to something that's greater than you. So this satisfied this awakened, unique me that happened in the 60s, this unique me. So now that I've got this unique me, what do I do with it? I have to have a cause. I have to have something to belong to. Because there are two commandments in life, according to Zen. One commandment is be yourself. Be a unique individual that's that where you feel you're at the center of the universe. You are the one without a second. We all feel this. We all feel I'm a me. I'm an I that is unique. I'm not a clone. I'm not a robot. I'm a unique I, a unique me, you see. So that uniqueness woke in the 60s. So it awoke in women, it awoke in black people, it awoke in gay people. So we've had these series of awakenings of particular categories of people, but all is based in the awakening of this I am unique. And this basically is the idea that drives the American experiment. The American experiment is driven by the Declaration of Independence of a unique individual. So this is not new. It just took a different form. So when you have this awakening of feeling, this feeling that I'm unique, you see, what do I belong to? So the Pat Robertsons in the 700 answered that question. Here's the dilemma. How can I be unique, second to none, and belong to something greater than me? That's an incompatible commandments. You can't be obedient and belong to some order and be a rebel at the same time. So the rebel is unique, but then how can the rebel belong to something greater than itself? You see, can't do it. So this has to be solved because we have to obey these two commandments. So the way Pat solved the problem was that Christianity is the unique truth because Jesus is the unique one. There's no second to Jesus. Jesus is the unique one, and around him is his unique church. So if you invest in and identify with Jesus and the unique church, then you are unique. But at the same time, you belong to something greater than you. So you get to belong and be unique at the same time. You get to eat your cake and eat it too. That solves the dilemma. That solves the guilt of not being able to fulfill these two categorically imperative commandments. So you get this creation of these electronic churches which are without boundaries. They can expand forever. They have no boundaries. The unique center is the charismatic preacher, who is speaking as the conduit to God, you see. So he's speaking as the conduit to God. God's grace comes down through him and it goes out to you, you see, like the hub of a wheel. So it creates these wheel-like churches or systems that are electronically created and generate tremendous amounts of money because all these little donations come into the hub, you see, and for the price of identity and belonging. It's a membership, and you get benefits. Membership with benefits, you see. You get God's grace. Okay, so the basic premise of this that keeps this CBN, Christian Broadcasting Network, church going is that, first of all, there is a threat. There is a cause for your feeling disconnected, for your exile. And the cause is the other, or the Antichrist, or Satan. So Christianity has always incorporated the other, this satanic evil force, in order to define itself as the good force. You can't define yourself as the good unless you have the bad. You can't have an up without a down. Can't have good without bad. They are dancing together like Fred and Ginger Rogers. So in order to be good, there has to be something that's bad, you see. And I can say I'm not that. So the other, the devil, Satan, the Antichrist, defines me. But when you put this mythological vision into a historical dimension, which is what happened, so this comes down into a historical dimension. So now you have physical devils, like Clinton or Obama, or the liberals is Satan's camp, you see. So now the liberal modernism, modern globalization, new order, you see, now becomes Satan's order. And you huddle more, or you move into your safe harbor that's going to keep this barbaric horde away, you see. And you want to expand your oasis in the wilderness. You want to expand your castle walls, expand your walls to push back the devil and modernity and the immigrants and the Jews and all of the bad evils, all the evil others, you see. So this is a formula that works, that continually works in different situations, you see. So, and the other thing is that there is an end of time and that a Messiah will come. So you got the war of the worlds, which is Bannon's world, the war of good against evil, and the Messiah will come to restore balance. Now in Avatar, there was no Messiah, it was the mother. The mother restored balance. But restoring balance is part of the equation. balance will be restored. The earth will be restored, you see. And the Messiah, when the Messiah comes, that will happen. And those who have kept their wick, their candles trimmed and their light ready, will be able to escape or transcend or lift up or avoid the coming apocalypse. And all the other damned will burn in hell, and you'll be in heaven, you see. So this is kind of like a formula. But when it becomes historical, when myth and history merge, you see, now you get into a situation where we are now, where Trump descends on the escalator from heaven, who has arrived to restore America. And the evangelicals flood to him because he fits the mythological formula. He fits the story. So whatever he says or does doesn't make any difference. He fits the story. The story is primary. The story gives meaning. The story gives content. This is Bible stories. We love Bible stories. Ministers, preachers, spend their whole lives using Bible stories to give meaning to historical situations. You take the Bible story, and you can filter your everyday little worker world problems, your little personal everyday mind, filter through the story, you get meaning going back to your person. Well, if Jacob did this and all of these biblical things happened, you see, and you'll be okay if you get meaning from the story. So the story is the source of meaning. The Sunday school and children are in the same area. So the child, tell me a story, read it again. The child orientates his life through stories. And we still do. The news orientates news through stories. So there's narratives in the news. It's not just data coming in. It's data coming in that is shaped by a story. And the story is kind of like the magnet with the paper over the top of it, and you sprinkle some iron filings on it, and the force field of the magnet will create a shape. That's the story, you see. So there's a liberal viewpoint, and there is a conservative story, you see. But they're both stories. One is not the truth, and the other one is not false. They're both magnet creating a story in the iron filings of facts. The iron filings are the same. You sprinkle them on one magnet, it makes one shape. You sprinkle them on another magnet, it makes another shape. Same iron filings. Different stories. So you have the secular, rational, liberal, humanistic view of reality, which comes from the Greeks, and you have the religious, theological, biblical view that comes from the Bible and Judaism and the church and all that history. So you have these two dimensions. Historically, they've been separate. You have the historical dimension and you have the religious dimension. After the Enlightenment, Descartes set the stage for the modern mind. And he basically said, the objective world that is proven through empirical evidence is the realm of science. The subjective world, the world of value, is the realm of religion. And these two are separate. But the scientific view became so successful that the religious view became so weak because, well, there's no angels in the science view. There's no miracles. No ghosts, no miracles. No God intervening in the world in the scientific view, you see. And the scientific view became the dominant view of our culture because it makes good stuff. So what did the religious view do? Well, instead of just disappearing, it descended and became and mixed with the scientific view. So now you have creationism is a science and evolution is a science, but only creationism is the true science and evolution is the fake science. So now you got fake news and real news. Fake news is the real news. Fake news is the wrong news. We got two different worlds. Two different worldviews competing for the same reality. And it's driving us crazy. It's making us neurotic. There can only be one world. You can't live as schizophrenic if you have two, both of them equal. Which one do you choose, you see? And if you can't choose, you go wow, wow, wow between the two of them, like when you stick a microphone up in an amplifier. Wow, 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 you know, give me some Prozac. You know, or shoot me, or something, you know. So this is coming to a head, I think, because the Messiah descended from the escalator, and now he and Bannon are trying to impose the kingdom of heaven and restore America, and restore it to its original purity, to its original martini. Lemon twist, gin, little bit of vermouth. Stir, don't shake. So, see, the secular world wants a whole lot of different martinis, all different kinds of flavors. I'm tired of this one, give me a new one. The religious world just wants the original martini, the pure one, because we're pure. We're not watered down like the secular world. We're pure. We have the original truth, you see. So anyway, I really got interested in this topic today because I really try to figure out and understand the larger context for what we're going through right now, because it's very easy to put on a narrow lens and miss the overall picture of what kind of water are we swimming in and why it's polluted. So thank you for dropping in.